Shout out to Baby Smack. What's up, Mac heads? What's up, YouTube? Today I want to talk about Melvin Hardy and the video that I posted on the Blue channel, Kev Mac Videos. It's not really a story, but welcome to another episode of KM Videos, True Stories.
Here we go. Y'all gotta play this, cause the uncles are so scared to say this. Now tell me, what am I supposed to do about a sucker like you who ain't never paid dues? Slapper, the happer, you're getting whacker. Your girl better step forward, just might jack her, smack her.
That was it. I never stopped banging. I started banging hard, then I got so hard till it was a shame.
Welcome to another episode of KM Videos, True Stories. So in response to the video that I uploaded yesterday on the Blue channel, I just want to give y'all a little inside info into my relationship with Melvin Hardy and how it began. So in my days of going to the LA County Jail, I would hear different dudes from Block talk about Melvin Hardy as their G homeboy. So I just thought he was their G homeboy, right? Everybody got G homies if you a younger dude. And so in 2005, I attended Tookie's funeral and I meet Melvin Hardy. Melvin Hardy is with Warlock, one of the Moody's, Monkey Man, Pee Wee. You know, he's with his crew of dudes that he knew and was good with. And so I ended up taking a couple pictures of them out in the street before the funeral. And I still didn't know Melvin Hardy's place in history. But then a couple years later, Barefoot Pookie introduces me to Melvin Hardy. So me and Melvin Hardy, we talking on the phone all the time. Melvin's lacing me on original Block history. He lacing me on the formation of the West Side Crips in the hundreds. And he's just breaking down some things for me that I had questions about. And I don't like to just take one man's word for things. So I like to ask, what do you think about this, using somebody else's scenario or history that they gave me outside of the presence of who I'm fact checking with, right? So, and I'm actually talking about Barefoot Pookie in this specific conversation. But also, I've talked to a lot of other dudes over the years, before I knew Pookie, after I met Pookie, right there by the side of Pookie. And so what I'm trying to say is I gathered a lot of information from some originals, particularly Melvin Hardy. Now, the reason why I held Melvin Hardy in such high regard is because in talking to Warlock, O'Neal, and Barefoot Pookie, I think I even ran it by one of my Damu partners, and they all had told me that Melvin Hardy would be the most truthful and most accurate person I could talk to on West Side Crip history. So that's why I always kind of refer to the hundreds and Melvin Hardy when we talk about the West Side Crips. The hundreds were very influential in cripping on the West Side. The 80s had their part, the 80s got their history and their version, their facts, and what have you, right? But I'm just talking about what I learned from Melvin Hardy and his homeboys in the hundreds. So in talking to Melvin, he told me, you know, that because somebody in the comment section mentioned there's a lot of jealousy. He was talking about Barefoot Pookie not giving Tookie his props as the leader. Well, my first thought is there's a lot of jealousy in the black community. There's a whole lot of that. You don't have to be a gang member. You don't have to be a lesser than. It's just a lot of that. And some of it stems from personal conflict, personal beefs. How an older dude treated a younger dude back in the day. You know, this is a recurring theme throughout ghettos of America. People ask me all the time, Have you ever seen a situation where somebody held animosity for 10, 20, or 30 years? Yes, I have, but only in the county jail, not on the streets. I've told one of those stories on my stories involving one of my homeboys, Big Cousin Kerry, and my homeboy Lil Roscoe, rest in peace, and my homeboy Lil or Baby Petey Whack. But nevertheless, so I go to Melvin Hardy, since he's supposed to be so truthful and so accurate. And I used to take notes. I used to write a whole lot of notes because me and Melvin would talk for hours. And we would talk probably 2 times a week, every week. And he would always say, you got any more questions, any more questions? He wanted to help me because he told me, just like Monster Cody and many others, that he felt like I was the guy that was preserving Crip history and doing it in an unbiased fashion. So that meant a lot to me. And of course, I believe him because he would take the time out to talk to me. And I hate that he never gave us an interview. He said he would, but he didn't want it to interfere with his job as a manager in a store up north in Fairfield, I think, Sacramento, Fairfield, something like that. And so it just never happened because we never expect to check out. We never expect our expiration date to come before we carry out some of the things we want to do or promise to do. If I'm not getting too far off track, so somebody that mentioned the jealousy stuff, there was a little bit of animosity or jealousy between Pookie and Tookie. Now here's the thing, according to Melvin Hardy, Tookie did not want Barefoot Pookie hanging around them because Tookie was born December of 1953, Melvin Hardy 1955. A lot of that group was born in that first wave as far as age group goes of the Crips and Bloods in LA. Pookie being born in 1956 was a little bit younger than them. So Melvin said Tookie didn't want the youngsters hanging around them. Tookie only wanted adults because, you know, they doing pills, they messing with ladies. They don't want nobody telling on them. You know, they were some grown dudes. Whereas the teenagers, they still in junior high school and high school. They wild with it. They buck wild. They talking, they you know what I'm saying? They putting your business out there. They coming around, they want to fight, they starting stuff, they immature. They ain't got no cars, none of that stuff, right? So that was Tookie's issue with Pookie. Pookie told me Tookie's issue with him was, and Melvin Hardy confirmed this after I went back to Melvin Hardy, but Tookie had a problem with, because Tookie liked to party. Tookie liked to show off his muscles, his afro, and be the guy that walks in a party and all eyes on him. Simply put, he was a ladies' man. The ladies liked Tookie, and Tookie loved it. And so Pookie used to go to the parties and kick it off. He used to turn the parties out. Tookie didn't like that. And Tookie pulled Pookie outside one day, according to Pookie, and said, you know, like, what are you doing, man? This ain't cool. They go back in, and Pookie takes off on somebody. And Pookie takes off. Pookie done squabbled. He got the party on fire. Pookie takes off, and Tookie is left there. And Tookie didn't like that. He like, man, you kick it off. You don't tell me you kicking it off, and I'm left there in the middle of the party, man. Something could have happened to me. So, according to Pookie and Melvin Hardy, those was the issues Tookie had with Barefoot Pookie. Now, I am mindful that Tookie still has family members alive and friends alive, as does Melvin Hardy. So, you guys may have more information, possibly different information. I'm only going off what I was told. And so, that was the issue. Now, Pookie actually told me that he had a fight with Tookie. I never spoke to Tookie. I don't have Tookie's version. Tookie's book was written by Barbara McNeil.
All right, well, in Tookie's book, for some reason, they give you credit for starting blocks, and now we're hearing that you're UG related. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, what I really think is that Tookie didn't write that book. They wrote that book for financial reasons, for reasons, and Tookie didn't. They didn't get it right at all. They didn't get it right at all. Tookie also mentioned some things in there. Barbara McNair is the one who wrote the book. With her understanding, she wrote the book. It wasn't Tookie's. It was some of his memoirs, but it wasn't the whole thing. You know, I think they really took advantage of him.
I'm not. I love the book. Great book. I tell people to buy it all the time. I'm not taking that book as a Bible. I'm just not. And as I continue, you'll understand why. Again, it's Tookie's life story, but it was written by Barbara McNeil, number one. So Pookie told me Tookie put hands on him. Tookie roughed him up, and supposedly Cutes was there, Mouse was there, Rusty might have been there, but I'm not sure. Monkey Man was there. Monkey Man confirmed the story. Monkey Man said that Tookie roughed Pookie up, gave him a bunch of rib shots, fired on Pookie in the ribs. And he told me Pookie had the reach on Tookie, but he said Pookie was skinny and Tookie was built and strong, and so Tookie gave him a bunch of body blows.
What were the top names at the meeting at Washington High in '71? This meeting.
You got Mike Conception, Melvin Hardy. You got number one for each side, Eki. You got Verdi Swan, Ray Washington, Eugene. You got Big Craig Craddock, rest in peace. And, myself, Melvin Hardy, a couple of the Moody brothers, Mike Conception, Johnny Burnett, Ron Burnett.
Tookie wasn't part of this meeting?
No, he hadn't got out yet. He was still incarcerated. He hadn't got out yet. He got out right after that. Right after that.
That when you had the confrontation with him?
No, that was in '71. We didn't have a confrontation until '73. Yeah.
Pookie confirmed it. Of course, Pookie tried to say he got some get back at a later date. I've never heard that. Nobody's never confirmed that. I think that was a macho bravado type of thing that Pookie may have been slightly ashamed of, but he shouldn't have no shame in that. He's fighting a dude 3 years older than him, bigger than him, stronger than him, and was quite influential with the Crips and his leadership role on the West Side at the time. So this happened in 1973. Cutes might say 72, but Monkey Man and Pookie said it was in '73. And Cutes also confirms why they worked together, which is another reason why I believe the incident was '73, not '72. Not that it really mattered, but I like to keep things in chronological order so you can see the sequence of events. And as you start putting the puzzle together, it all makes a whole lot of sense. So what I'm getting at is this was when the West Side began to break up, because Tookie was in Compton in '73.
Tookie, after 1973, like I say, he moved back to Compton, you know.
So there's no picture out there with all four of you guys together?
No. Matter of fact, Raymond and I talked to Jackie. Jackie was one of the big guys hanging around with Tookie, who come to the events, social events that would be profiling with him all the time. And he was saying that Tookie was trying to get big so he can go up against Raymond.
They're 17 now, 18 now. And Tookie is not on deck every day. Tookie's working at the Red House, and he's all around Compton at the time. So he basically vacated the turf, or his leadership, so to speak. And dudes was trying to fulfill that role. Dudes was trying to step in and fulfill that role. Whether that's whoever you want to name. It's a list of names you could throw up in there. But it seems that people are trying to take away Melvin Hardy's influence. You cannot do that. There's dudes that grew up in the hundreds with Melvin Hardy and dudes that grew up looking up to Melvin Hardy. His place in the hundreds, original Block Crip, original West Side Crip, is written in stone. And you may be from out of town and perceive things differently. You may look up to Tookie more than anybody else. You may have heard more about Tookie than anybody else. You may have liked his book more than anyone else's. But the fact is, Melvin is Melvin and Tookie is Tookie. That does not depreciate the value of Tookie. That does not minimize his role or his influence on the Crips. But Tookie had kind of moved on to Compton and became very influential over there with the guys that he was running across, the guys that admired Tookie and was like in awe of Tookie and his muscles and how Tookie kept a group of Crips around him and coming to the Red House and banging that blue rag and showing dudes how to Crip and fighting the enemy on head-up squabbles and stuff like that, right? So it is what it is. There's no shame in that. Nobody should be ashamed of that. You know what I'm saying? A real man is going to be a real man wherever he go. If you could be tough over here, you should be able to be tough over here. And that's how Tookie was. And we know, we've heard the stories of Tookie and Jamel out in front leading packs to Crip meetings, Centinela Park, Sportsman Park, and stuff like that. We've also heard Tookie and Donald Archie and others over at St. Andrews Park and having meetings over there and being very influential over there. But so when the West Side splinters off, according to everybody I talked to, Tookie was against that. Tookie didn't want no individual gangs because he had already seen the East Side breaking off into different branches and Compton breaking off to different branches. He didn't want the West Side to be like that. In Blue Rage, Black Redemption, they break it down just as I just explained. But this young, upcoming, hungry, wild dudes full of this testosterone and adrenaline, they wanted to start their own sets. And so the Hoovers and the Harlems would now see other sets popping up. And the reason why the Harlems were basically their own entity because they weren't part of that West Side Crip regime in the beginning. They joined the Crips. So there was already West Side Crips when the Harlems joined.
So how did you find your way to the 30s, and who did you meet when you went there?
Well, Shotgun, original Crip, still living today. He pronounced that they had guns. You know, we needed some guns. You know, this is before Big J really got out. You know, we went down there, you know, to talk with them and possibly, you know, get some of them guns. And we ended up, you know, liking each other, coming together.
The Hoovers did their own thing with Hoover Joe and other members. They did their own thing for the most part. But then you got the Hoovers in the hundreds, who was very much a part of the West Side as well. Until, you know, they went to where they went and became part of the Hoovers. I think you can go over to Under the Groove channel and get all the Hoover information you need and let them tell their own story without me saying too much. I am understanding that a lot of people don't want me speaking because of where I'm from and what I represent, speaking on their turfs. I'm going to respect that. Some things about some people in some sets I'm still going to speak on because it was my experience or it was told to me, and I'm going to tell you it was told to me. So with that said, man, that ain't got nothing to do with nothing. But Um, Melvin Hardy told me he attended Southwest College. I don't remember what he got his degree in, but he attended Southwest College, and his whole mindset, his mind frame was to take his family and move them up north to escape the gang violence in Los Angeles. And so that's what Melvin did. And I appreciate the way he was thinking. Like, I could still be with my homies. I could still be representing that C thing, Crip Nation. But I got to get away so I can survive and raise my kids with values and not have to worry about them getting killed in gang crossfire. I respect that about Mr. Hardy. Again, I was never able to conversate or correspond with Tookie like I have so many others. As you know, we interviewed Bonnie, Tookie's ex-wife, Tookie's child's mother. Great interview, good woman, very respectful. I love her to death. Pookie, rest in peace. You know, everybody didn't agree with Pookie's stories. I got that a lot. I got it a whole lot. But time and time again, most of Pookie's stories checked out. Most of all his stories checked out. That don't mean he was 100%. But Pookie was the Johnny Appleseed of Crip, because Pookie lived damn near everywhere. He lived in the 20s. He made alliance with the 30s. He lived in the 40s. He lived in the 60s. He hung out in the 80s. He lived in the 100s. He lived in what became Hoover Hood later on. So Pookie been around. Pookie been at Juvenile Hall. You know what I mean? So Pookie was meeting people throughout the city, and Pookie was spreading his Crip influence or his Crip association to dudes that he was running across, old friends, old schoolmates, and stuff like that. And he's marching the troops into other sets and kicking up dust, kicking up static. You know what I mean? Even in rival territory. You know, his history speaks for itself. I'm not going to go all off into that, but he hung with a lot of reputable dudes, such as Mike Concepcion, Lavelle Frierson, Melvin Hardy, Warlock, O'Neal, Black Dog, Michael Christian, the Johnson brothers from Harlem, Kenny Roberson, it's a whole bunch of dudes, man. Pookie was friendly with a lot of Crips and knew a lot of Crips. You know, he didn't do much hanging on the east side. Like he said, he was a west side type of dude, through and through. But I remember rolling with Pookie. Pookie be like, ride with me or give me a ride here. And we would go to the east side to run across, to meet with some of them dudes from the east side that ran with Raymond Washington. So I know Pookie knew them dudes, you know what I mean? Because Pookie had habits. Pookie had habits, and he would want to go see dudes. And so I would meet some of these guys, or almost meet some of these guys, because some of them didn't want to meet me. They like, you know, they would get mad, Pookie bringing me over to the east side, you know what I mean? But I don't really know what else I wanted to say, man, but I just really thought hard about mentioning him going to Southwest College, because all black people, all gang members ain't no big dummies. And so he got a further education and a trade or a degree. And I didn't mention that in the video because I didn't see it in his obituary. I didn't want to give out no false information. However, somebody left a comment mentioning they used to see him on 113th going across the street to Southwest. And I was like, I knew it. I hit Baby Smack like I told you. I knew it. He told me he went to Southwest. You know, sometimes I question myself, but also I be trying to be accurate and not put nothing out there that cannot be confirmed. Unless I just let you know that it hasn't been confirmed, right? So, man, I had a great time not only meeting Melvin Hardy, but talking to Melvin Hardy a lot. And I will forever be appreciative. He said Tookie used to call him from Death Row and ask for his approval to put those things in the book. And Melvin agreed because Tookie had wanted everyone to know he was the leader and co-founder of the Crips with Raymond Washington, because the more it looked like he had pull over all Crips, it would appear he could stop street gang violence. And so Melvin Hardy was with that, and he allowed Tookie to drag him. Melvin said he didn't have a problem with it. You know, if that was going to save his friend, he wanted his friend to be spared from execution. And so somebody had asked, you know, what was going on? There was something going on. Yeah, that's all it was, according to Melvin. If somebody else know different, let us know. If you can give us an interview, give it up. That's my story for today, man. Be sure to click that like button. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. And don't be afraid to leave a comment, man. Good, bad, or indifferent. I might get upset. I might get my feelings. But I will respond. You know what I mean? Good dialogue is always welcome. I'm out of here, y'all. Peace.
This is